it was like a couple of weeks ago that I saw a 6-part series of videos on the YouTube channel of Heaven Seekers Ministry that they're titled Heaven or Hell. All 6 of them have the same title, Heaven or Hell, and they're numbered part 1 through 6. Now this video I'm doing today is specifically about something that she spoke about in part 5 video. It actually started in part 4, which I'm leaving to a video after this that I've done, because they each there's enough subject there for me to make each their own video. Now it centers around what she had to say in part 4 and part 5. When she got to part 4 and part 5, she spoke about an experience the Lord gave her where he took her to go see something he wants the world to be warned about. He took her to go see what he said are 5 demons ruling the world. 5 demons ruling the world. Now, it was one of the demons in part 5 that this video is about. And the reason it's about this particular demon is because it struck a nerve. It struck a nerve. I'm going to share with you how it struck a nerve with me and why. I'm going to share with you briefly what she had to say about it and give you my critique, which I'm going to tell you it's positive. It's a positive critique. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to first, most essentially, tell you, of course, scripturally why. I'm going to begin with that. Because everything that we judge, everything we use our power of discernment has to be founded on the scriptures. And so let me begin with that. Ephesians 6:12 is the one that most Christians are familiar with. And we're going to read it now. And it says, "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers, over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." See, it's talking about spiritual powers that exist that are evil. And they have positions of authority. They're rulers, authorities. Cosmic powers are kind of classified into different sections. Now, if you're a Christian, you believe this scripture. It's further spoken of in John 12 that there's a prince of this world, and that judgment is cast upon the prince. And this is the same prince that the Lord spoke of when he said, the ruler of this world has no power over me. That power was a power of evil. A power of evil. This is this prince. We know the Bible tells us there's a prince of the power of the air who is evil, who is in charge of the world. In charge of the world. In fact, this spirit is the one in, let's see where that scripture is. Ephesians 2, verse 2, that is at work in disobedient people. And it says, "In which you used to walk when you conformed to the ways of this world, and of the ruler of the power of the air, the spirit who is now at work in the sons of disobedience." So we have from these scriptures knowledge that there are rulers, there are authorities, there are princes, royalty of evil that exists now, and they're running the show. They're behind rebellion. They're behind all kinds of people behaving in wickedness and rebellion. Okay, so this is scriptural. So just alone on the scriptures, I already came with an open ear and an open heart to listen to her testimony. Now, Philipa Kuranchie is a I believe I heard her say at the time she was 16. She's 16 years of age now. She is a young woman who a few years ago and started to receive visits from the Lord, and he has been revealing to her certain principles concerning holiness and heaven and hell, and she has been relating them on the channel, A Heaven Seekers Ministry. And this was the latest revelation that I saw about a couple of weeks ago. And because it really is a subject dear to my heart, I wanted to make a critique of it and give my assessments why I'm so supportive, so positive about what she has presented here. The other reason is because I myself, now listen, I myself have encountered, not in a dream, not under drugs, not under near-death experience, in real life, as I'm sitting here, I myself had encountered such a ruler, such a principality, such an evil ruler of the world, such one of the powers, one of the authorities. I encountered one. I encountered one. And that is something you can't ever forget. And when you encounter one and you experience the scriptures in real life, it takes things to another level, a whole other level. And that is the other reason that sealed my passion about this video. First of all, how she presented it, and the two aspects of it, because she goes into more details. She goes into more details about the 5 demons the Lord wanted her to see. Now, 2 of them struck a nerve with me in what I have gone through, and those 2, because they especially influenced my positive critique, are the ones I'm going to share here. And afterwards, I'm going to share with you my own encounter. My own encounter. Encounter. Not dream, not NDE. And it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago. Not some blue moon a long ago. And at the time I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I'm going to read to you then what it was, so you're reading exactly. And I had done my best, because I'm not a computer graphic, to make a small representation of it while I'll read it to you. At this point, I'm going to take a minute to recount to you what Philipa Kuranchie related in the first 2 videos I'm talking about. Then I'll fill you in what about it hit a nerve with me and makes me a supporter of what she said. Okay, this is the first part of the 2 parts of her video that I'm covering. It was in the video called Heaven or Hell 5, Sister Philipa Kuranchie. And in this video, she started saying that the last time that shot the previous one, like a week before, the Lord has shown her, and she had covered in that one the first 3 of 5 demons that the Lord had wanted her to see, and for the reason to warn the world. Now in this one, on this 4th demon, she related that the Lord took her to see another demon, and this one looked like a TV box, and connected to her were very ugly hands and legs, and the Lord made her understand that this is the demon behind secular TV and secular movies. Okay, in this particular first one I'm showing, Philipa spoke about the fourth demon that the Lord showed her, which looked like a TV box. Now, as soon as I saw that, that really got me. Because in a video that I have made myself, when God took me to the last day, which was a video of my testimony, what happened to me in 1972, I took the time to make a graphic about a TV, on a TV box. As best I could, I paired demon wings with it because of my own revelation about the demon behind television. Satan reigns in the houses through these things. People voluntarily, every day, make a decision to turn on that tube and let Satan reign and direct the whole family. Now the Lord led me to this revelation. The Lord led me to the revelation when I first became born again back. It was just in 2011 or 12, in the Pentecost day, I actually was baptized. Through that process, the Lord was leading me to see the evil behind TV. The evil behind TV. At first, I grew up in a house where normal was television playing. If television wasn't playing, even if no one was in the room, it seemed weird. It seemed weird. Even though the first television that I watched was in black and white, I grew up being conditioned to always have the TV on. In fact, when I was married to my husband, who passed away 10 years ago, when we moved into the house that was to be my last house with him, there was no TV. And it just felt so odd to me. And I just had to go get a TV. And I had to go put that TV in. Well, now I know, that spirit working behind that TV. What I have called Satan's rattler is what I call it. Because the devil uses television like a baby rattler. Like a parent uses a rattler that they shake in front of the baby to hold his attention away from everything. And this is so that our attention is held away from the path that leads to life, rather than spending time reading the Bible, growing in the knowledge of God, understanding that we are to live for the Lord, that we're to do things for the Lord. We're caught up with all the pretty little rattlers being shaken in front of the eyes all the time. So you're gripped under that, and you are fruitless. You're fruitless. And then if you're not fruitless, you're being indoctrinated to be tolerant of evil. And it has been so insidious, the way this has crept into families. So insidious. Even the cartoons. When the Lord started sensitizing me to the wickedness in television, first I started just not watching some adult shows. Then I thought it was okay to watch cartoons. When the Lord started to let me see all the darkness, the violence, the anti-biblical messages that were presented there. And finally, I got myself down to just one little Thomas Choo Choo. And even that had issues that led you in fantasies away from anything having to do with heaven. Slowly the Lord was taking me to that point, and I got to understand there actually is a spirit behind it. And that was also what motivated me to make that illustration. You see, it wasn't just willy-nilly, that image that I did. I already understood at that point that there's a demonic spirit behind that TV box. So that was one of the aspects that really hit me in her critique. Listening to how the Lord revealed to her, and the things that were revealed were spot on. Biblically, they're spot on. And it's also, because it's a form of idolatry. And like I said, you are caught under its power. That couch potato thing is a perfect reference to the zombieism, the captivity one has under this spirit. So that was one of the things, and that is actually the less exciting thing about it that led me to have a positive critique. Then she went on to say the Lord told her, no matter how strong you are as a Christian, if you watch filthy things, those things will plant filthy things within you. She ended that one about the TV saying, beloved, we have to be careful about what we watch. I included this because this is another revelation the Lord had given me about 5 years ago, when I started the journey through the Holy Spirit's leading to see the evil of television, to understand how these things can actually defile you. It's been a long process, but I have come to know personally that you can look at something and it can transfer a defilement into you. Now, when I came to learn that, I came to learn how important it is to keep your eyes away from evil. Keep your eyes away from evil, because unless you're really, really strong, this can go through your eyes. The window of your eyes leads to your soul. As scriptural, what you put your eyes on, you're feeding into your soul. And you're adding darkness. If you look at darkness, you're adding darkness. If you're looking at anything immoral, whether you did so willingly or if it was forced on your eyes. Well, how can it be forced on your eyes? Well, by a commercial you're watching. It can be, suddenly you're seeing a commercial of immorality, having things to do with sex, having things to do with sensuality, because a lot of people don't understand that the sensuality is a sin. Sensuality is listed in the Bible as a sin. That's the one thing, another way that the TV is being used demonically to train a woman to believe it is a positive thing to behave sensual. It has gotten so wicked that it has even gone down to going young children, posing them and making them grow up in this demonic doctrine. And back in the 60s, there's been a big evolution to it. It used to be in the United States, it was prohibitive to show the belly button on TV. But over the decades, this was in the 1960s, over the decades, that has gone away. Now, it's more than suggestive. It's at the point that, as the Lord said, unless you're really strong, you can't resist it. You're shown parts of the body. You're shown things in blatantly suggestive ways that it can lead a person to tumble. You can look at it, but that imagery can be seared into you, and you're fighting this evil. You're fighting this evil, this enemy dart that has been put into your core. And what's worse, you're being hammered by this day after day after day even. It could be through commercials. It could be through what's considered family shows dealing with just celebrity news, that's put on a family hour. And these images, which have been very mature in the warfare, because things are at the point now where on such shows, such kind of images are routinely showed. And the purpose is, first of all, to dull the viewer's senses to what is sin. You see something so many times, you lose your perspective. If you don't turn away, if you don't read the Bible, and which you keep your eyes away from such things, you will become dulled to the image. You become tolerant of it, and you lose your perspective of the danger of it. You lose your perspective that it's sin, even what you're looking at, and you just go further into it, where you can even be led to partake into sin. Because we're told in the Bible, even to greet someone in sin, you partake into sin. So the problem is the television is a vicious weapon that is now at a point of its development, and the enemy has infiltrated so widespread the people doing such things that it's a hardcore battle at this point. Even the common television shows that a person might watch during the day are steeped in messages that are against the Bible. Steeped in messages. So the demon behind television wages war and traps people and snares people in various ways through filthy things that lead people to sins of immorality, to sins of tolerance of things that are against the Bible. And a lot of it is done through the likability factor, the likability of the actors or actresses, are the personalities behind the particular messages being given. Second of all, the spirit of television uses television to teach another type of sin, which is another kind of wickedness, which is wickednesses that break other ways of the Lord. Remember, the Lord said, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision means anything but keeping the commandments of God, because Christ abolished the ordinances that involved rituals of days, weeks, and food that do nothing to stop the indulgence of the flesh. So those ordinances and things that don't do anything to stop the indulgences of the flesh, which lead to major sins, the Lord abolished. But he did not abolish the moral laws. We're still to not steal. We're still to not covet. We're still not to break the other commandments. Okay, so we're still to love our neighbors, and that's a prime thing. We're to love our neighbors. And that's another way that the enemy is using the television. I first saw this start about 10 years ago in a show called Betty, a sitcom show called Betty. Now, this kind of wicked training in wickedness, it wasn't just Betty. It was also, in this show called Betty. That's what I saw. It could have started other shows, but at the time, I would see that show, and I would see this behavior in the antagonist. Around Betty was the good person, and the people around her, they were wicked, and they behaved in wickedness that was made to seem charming, though. A charming kind of wickedness. Then I saw the enemy take this and then later on create shows in the last few years that I have seen where it's now the protagonists, the characters that are supposed to be the likable characters, that are now having this wicked behavior. And what is this wicked behavior? This behavior is to behave snide, wickedly, to one's family members, to one's neighbors, and it is made to seem as charming. It's made to seem as charming. If you're not mature or knowledgeable prior to this, especially children are vulnerable to this, you're led to believe this is desired behavior, that it is desired to be wicked, mean, snide, vengeful. These are all things going against God's way, and to be such a way is to be in sin. Love is the top commandment. Love one's neighbor. Treat someone like yourself. Instead, this behavior now that the TV is using, the demon in TV is using to make so many people commit sin, is to train them in perverse thinking. Train them in thinking that is against the right way, and make them think that that is the right way. In fact, that's one of the problems nowadays, where right is being called wrong and wrong is being called right. But Isaiah 5:20 has a woe against such a way, has a woe against such kind of training, such kind of thinking. Isaiah 5:20 says, I'm going to read it from here, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." Now, this is where the enemy has gotten it to. It is gotten to the point where it's convinced a majority of people, to call what the Lord has defined as evil as good. And even more wickedly, to use a slogan of, "It's just love. It's just love." Now, this enemy has been doing this sort of thing. I saw it started happening, and it seemed about the 70s. 1970s it started. And it started, I saw it, because it started in other places. But when I first was aware of it, was this show called Love American Style. And this show, it dealt with promiscuity, and it dealt with fornication, and it dealt with idolatry, and it was presented to make it seem healthy, an American way of life. And I saw that show many times, and it introduced people, and it molded minds to think that an evil, fornication, promiscuity is good. Because after all, they were likable characters put in understanding places. You see, it's very subtle manipulations that start to happen. And it was all around the thought that it's just love. It's just love. It's a message the enemy has been trying to push to deceive people to commit sins. Now it's matured into the arena of the gay, the transgender, now and to the point where this is the mantra. It's just love. Same mantra, same thing. It's just love, the enemy is saying, to convince people through the manipulation of calling it just love, that this that the Lord has defined as evil is good. And many people are fiercely behind it now. They have been convinced. They are in this, and new people. It's worse because you got a snowball effect. So many people caught it up that it's so much easier for other people to be caught up in the same thing. And when it's got the law behind it, that's all some people need to know. It's interesting. Some of these people are actually in the body of Christ. They're supposed to be following the Bible in fullness, yet they are more convinced by the law of men, and they change the Bible. They change or ignore parts of the scriptures in order for that. But anyways, this is the kind of thing I've seen. Well, the same thing that the enemy has done and continues to do in the venue dealing with sexuality, the enemy also has done dealing with the other moral laws, which is how we treat one another and treat neighbors. It come to the point where I have actually seen a different kind of children out there, a different kind of teens and young people out there who are byproducts of such programming. You notice them because they go around emulating this behavior on these shows, working in antics to be snide, to be wicked to the people they encounter, to the people in their own family, and to feel it's charming. They have been deceived. They're walking into deception. And the problem, of course, is that they're walking, though they're alive, they're dead because they're walking in these sins that the Lord has defined. It's really important to understand that it's not just inanimate. It's not inanimate technology in your house. It is a way that the enemy has succeeded in infiltrating your home, in getting access to manipulate you and manipulate your loved ones to become its victims, to become their captive. The end goal is to just get you to die in a sin. That's the end goal. They don't care what sin. As long as you die in a sin, that's it. They want you. They want your family member. Nobody should really have a TV on who does not daily read the Bible. I mean, daily read the Bible and know how to rightly divide the word of truth, because there are people reading the Bible that they're reading it with hardened hearts. They're reading it with their eyes closed and their ears closed, so they can continue in the pleasure and righteousness they enjoy. I have met such people. I've met such people who are terrors to those around them. And they keep an open Bible on their desk all the time, and they're always looking at it while they're committing half a dozen sins right there while they're looking at the Bible. So it's not that you are looking at the Bible. It's not that you're playing the Bible. It's that you are actually receiving and acting, believing, and obeying the Bible. And you're feeding on it daily in this way. In this way. This is the only way you stand a chance. You stand a chance to overcome that powerful, evil, wicked, demonic principality in power through millions and millions of television boxes worldwide. Firstly, I do not watch television. There are some times, because I'm in a house that has other people in it, where I cannot avoid traveling to other parts of the house, especially the kitchen, and be forced to hear the television someone else is playing and have no control to change it. Well, I don't stay there very long. And depending on the person, because you know, some people keep it clean, but depending on the person, let me show you. You see what this is? If I can put it here where I can be seen. I bought this purposely because there's a particular person where I am that watches things late at night. That's just plain wicked. Listening to it, even listening to something, as the Lord did tell Philipa, it can implant in you. You can be an unwilling victim. That's why the apostle wrote in the Bible about Lot. Poor Lot was being tormented. His soul was being tormented by this evil that he heard, because he was fighting these wicked things coming into his ears. And sometimes even his eyes. Even though he was a righteous man, it was tormenting. So you will be tormented. And so I went ahead, except very serious about getting to heaven. I'm very serious about fighting these things the best I can. So I went ahead and I went to Walmart. This is about 2 years ago, and I purchased this. It is it's a noise headphone canceller, the best I could find. It does have a radio in here now, but the thing is, there's no station I could trustfully listen to and avoid unexpected evil. So the times when I had to go through that situation, I turned it to the only thing I knew was good, which is white noise on the radio, and I put it loud as I can and wear it when I had to pass by and pass through the area where when that person is actively watching that TV, that's just wickedness. Avert my eyes, and my ears are masked from receiving evil. Receiving evil. It's that serious. It's not a joke. It is that serious. Your soul can be in peril. Your soul can be in peril. What if I had passed it a moment when there's pure wickedness that implanted itself to me and I didn't have a chance to get this defilement taken out of me? and I fell dead from a heart attack or something. I might be in peril. I'm having such a thing on me. You say, Vivian, how can this happen? It can happen. The Lord is very serious. He's very serious about his decrees. I remember seeing a testimony in a video called The Judgment of God, Part 2. Sister Philipa told another testimony. This was back in 2015. At this point of Part 2, the Lord showed her a man standing in the judgment queue. And the Lord told her this man had done everything that Jesus had asked him to do. This man had lived for the Lord. This man had done everything that Jesus had wanted to do. He had abandoned his life for the Lord. And so, you would ask yourself, why was this man standing in the judgment queue? The Lord said this man's wife's place was in town. And from where he was, there was always ungodly music surrounding him. And there was always people dressed in ungodly ways passing before his eyes. Then the Lord told her, this man, he never gave ear to the ungodly music, and he never lusted after any of the women. Then the Lord told her, he is too holy. And because this man failed to dip himself in the blood of Jesus to cleanse himself, he was going to languish forever in the lake of fire, because hearing and seeing those ungodly things had made him filthy. And because of this man was going to languish forever in the lake of fire, because Jesus is too holy. He couldn't receive such a defiled person. It didn't matter this guy's track record. This guy never even knew. This guy never even thought that he would be defiled. So he never asked. Not knowing didn't excuse him. The fact that he was found full of this defilement, this byproduct, got him to hear, depart. And he's now in hell. So imagine television before your eyes. People dressed in ungodly ways are constantly going before your eyes and before the eyes of your loved ones, before the eyes of your children. In family hour times, shows like Extra, Entertainment Today. You got people living lives against the Lord, and they're playing this music that the Lord considers ungodly. You see, it's not your measure that you have to measure by. It's the Lord's measure. And he said, he's too holy. It brings to mind the Bible passage. You must be perfect because I'm perfect. You know, light's got to start going on. A light that makes you have fear and trembling, like Paul said. That what is put in the Bible about the standard is literal. We have to be perfect. Well, because our own works, as Philipa had said there, can't make you holy. Neither can your own works make you righteous. You have to be constantly bringing that to be cleansed in the blood of the Lamb. Cleansed in the blood of the Lamb. That's just being in town that this happened to the man. Music surrounding him from the street. In your house, the TV constantly going. All kinds of things to be coming on the commercial. All kinds of defiling things. And this is a perfect example of how this filth is defiling you. This is the brainstorm. This is the agenda of the spirit behind television. The enemy's scheme. Get you to sin. Get you found too filthy by all the things you have soaked in, you've heard and you've seen. With all the end goal to have you languish in the lake of fire. Have you too filthy to be allowed into heaven. Because the stakes are so high. They're really high. It's not too much. There is no effort too much to protect yourself from getting defiled by these things. And because of that, you really just can't brush it off. You got to lend an ear. What is playing on that TV? What is flashing before your eyes? We have a holy God. He is too holy. He is too holy, and nothing unholy, nothing, no abomination, nothing defiled. Revelation tells us will enter heaven. You know, whether or not this story was true or not, biblically, it's supported. Biblically, it's supported. We can become defiled by what we take in. If we walk through, if we have to cut through a prostitution brothel, go through the door and come out, and we have seen and heard things in that way, that darkness has seeped into our soul. And we have to cleanse ourselves of that defilement. We have to cleanse ourselves of that defilement. You know, in time, you could repent, you could do things, but what if you just died? And you were, at the time, finding yourself forced by those things, thinking of those acts. We already know the Lord has told us that just to think about adultery with someone, you've done it. You've done it. The whole thing is, there's a reason why Paul said, there's a reason why he said we have to work out our salvation in fear and trembling. Do you understand what that means? Fear has different levels. You know, you get to the edge of a high balcony. You can feel that fear a moment, but you pull back. But to be at that level where that fear is one that makes you tremble, that's a very higher level of fear. That's a really bad fear. This is a kind of fear where you have fallen into the lion pit, and the cave door is open. That's the kind of fear you're going to feel that way. Okay, that is a serious fear, because that is the true fear of the sentence of God's wrath upon you. Paul said fear and trembling, because you have to take very seriously the threat of dying in sin. You have to take it very seriously. Now, I'm not here, trying to convince the one saved, always saved. That is a different thing. You can watch my video, The Second Unpardonable Sin, and hear the scriptural arguments there about that. I'm talking about the people who understand the scriptures, that we can fall from grace, that we can stumble, and as John said, we can turn to our high priest, though, however, and have these things cleansed. If we are genuinely repentant when we come to the Lord and we turn from those sins. That's what I'm talking about. All right, well, that's what I have to say about concerning Philipa's testimony, you can see now why I felt so powerfully about it. This is a very serious situation. So serious because this is the only tool. This is the only tool that the enemy possesses where it is unstoppably reigning in everybody's house. Unstoppably reigning. People just are clueless to what they are letting happen to them. They're utterly clueless. Here at the end, I'm going to put a link to that video by Sister Philipa if you want to see that. And from there, I would really suggest that you watch the whole series beginning with number 1, Heaven or Hell. The first 1 through 3 don't have anything to do with the demons. There are other things the Lord have told her about heaven or hell. I really suggest that you hear them. They're very powerful and they'll help you in your walk. And the other link, which should appear here, if it's not here right now, it'll be here soon when I post that one, is the part 2 of my video, which I strongly urge you to see, which deals with the other demon. And in there, towards the end, I have the testimony of my own, as I have said here, my own encounter with the demonic principality. You've got to see that. You've got to see that. In fact, you've got to see both of those things. So go see Philipa's and then come and see mine. God bless you, and thank you for watching.